Time to face destiny.
Time to face gravity.
You know who shouldn't direct the next James Bond movie? Christopher Nolan. And before you throw your Tenet Blu-ray at me in reverse and it hits you in the face, let me be clear, respect where it's due. Nolan's filmography is tighter than a Bond girl smuggling A-level classified documents between a pair of double Ds. Memento is a masterpiece. The Prestige made our trust in magicians plummet. And Inception proved that you can weaponize exposition for 2 hours as long as you're having a wet dream by the end of it. But when I hear Christopher Nolan and James Bond in the same sentence, it's like someone is saying strip club and tax seminar in the same breath. Nolan makes movies like he's building a Swiss watch inside another Swiss watch inside a black hole. His plots twist, turn, and bend in ways that make you question your own flexibility and leaves you Googling terms like time dilation. And that isn't Bond. Bond is a human martini. Nolan is a chalkboard with an existential crisis. One is about sex, style, and explosions. The other is about time, trauma, and subtext so thick you'll need a safe word before the credits roll.
My safe word is pineapple juice.
Bond doesn't need an equation, he needs a mission, alcohol to keep the withdrawal symptoms away, and henchmen with an eye patch and a briefcase. The best bad guys in Bond movies always had briefcases. Bond doesn't need to invert the flow of time to stop a nuclear bomb from blowing up the world. He needs to drive a car that shoots rockets out of the back while flirting with a beautiful woman named Anita Hardcock. Bond doesn't need a dissertation on the fabric of space-time. He needs a villain whose evil plot is simpler than his love life, but still just as explosive. If Christopher Nolan started to lecture James Bond on black holes, Bond would probably shoot him immediately because 1, only villains talk like that, and 2, he's dying of boredom. Bond only has room for one Q in his life, the one who makes him cars with an ejector seat and a gun that could be mistaken for a pen, not the one that hands him a blackboard and asks him to calculate the end of the universe before lunch. He doesn't need a physics lesson, he needs a laser watch, a quick getaway, and the only black hole he's getting into is a woman who doesn't mind a little danger. Christopher Nolan doesn't make movies, he constructs architectural blueprints of cinema. Watching a Nolan film is like being handed the schematics to a luxury time bomb and being told, good luck. You don't watch a Nolan movie, you analyze it, you decode it, you assemble it in your mind like it's some kind of emotional IKEA. Except the instruction manuals in Sanskrit, half the screws are missing, and the furniture keeps folding on itself. You walk out of a Christopher Nolan film wondering if you even saw a movie, or if you just experienced a highly choreographed anxiety attack. Which is cool for Nolan, but not for Bond. Nolan's vibe is, the world is ending, but let's whisper about it in grayscale while contemplating the fragility of time and the weight of human regret. Bond's vibe is, the world is ending, but here's a quip, a jet ski that turns into a helicopter while a woman named Scarlet Fever is waiting back in my hotel room with nothing but a towel and stroking a silencer. Imagine Bond walking into a casino. In a Nolan movie, he wouldn't order a martini. He'd stand there silently at the bar, brooding about determinism. Hans Zimmer honks a single note from a didgeridoo to make sure you're still paying attention. Then Bond launches into a 4-minute monologue about the illusion of choice as the IMAX camera flips upside down. Meanwhile, the bartender is just trying to figure out if he wants gin or vodka. And forget seduction. Nolan's Bond wouldn't seduce the femme fatale. He'd explain how emotional intimacy is a byproduct of trauma, looping through nonlinear time, while she sits there in a red dress wondering if this is foreplay or a TED Talk. Eventually, she freely gives him the location of the secret base in order for this conversation to end immediately. Classic Bond, he would have her name and room number by the second sip before her bra unhooks itself. Bond movies are foreplay and sex. Nolan's movies are aftercare, long, emotionally complicated, and possibly involving a chart. Sure, Christopher Nolan could make a great spy movie, no question. If you need a morally tormented protagonist in a tailored suit droning on about the geopolitical collapse while running backwards through a metaphor, Nolan's your guy. But a Bond movie, that's a different beast entirely. Bond movies aren't just spy thrillers, they're basically luxury travel ads with a body count. It's Welcome to Monaco, here's a penthouse suite, the Aston Martin with optional missile launcher, and a beautiful woman named Chastity Flames who may or may not try to kill you after round 2. You don't watch a Bond movie to understand the fragile balance of global power. You watch to see just how many countries 007 can visit, seduce, and blow up before breakfast. And sure, Nolan could technically shoot a Bond film, but he'd film it on location in the Arctic Circle using natural light, a 70mm camera the size size of a horse just to capture the emotional frostbite of betrayal. Meanwhile, Bond fans are sitting there going, cool, but when does he ski off the cliff and land in a wingsuit the shape of a Union Jack? When does that happen? Bond is stylish chaos. It's espionage with a chiseled jawline and a six-pack that could open diplomatic channels. It's sipping a cocktail in the Maldives while sniping a warlord between flirty puns. Nolan would give you a Bond movie where the villain is a metaphor for entropy, the love interest is a ghost from his childhood, and the climax takes place inside a collapsing subconscious in the shape of the Pentagon called the Dreamagon. Bond doesn't need symbolism. Bond needs boats, babes, and bombs. Nolan wouldn't make a Bond movie because he can't. He'd make a Nolan movie that's Bond flavored, like lingerie made of graph paper, technically detailed but not exactly getting anybody off. It would have all the ingredients, sure, the tux, the Aston Martin, the theme music slowed down and played in reverse by a cello on fire, but it would be Bond by the way of theoretical physics. A spy movie where the biggest twist is that time is a flat circle and MI6 doesn't exist. And that's not what Bond is. Bond is sexy, Bond is dangerous, Bond is one-liners delivered while base jumping a whole damn yacht. He asks if your champagne is as cold as the guy he just iced in the hallway. And again, I'm not saying Nolan isn't a genius because he is. He made Oppenheimer into a box office event about guilt and fission, and that's some Jedi mind trick levels of filmmaking. But Bond doesn't need a therapist. Bond needs a director who remembers style isn't a sin, fun isn't a flaw, and sometimes car chases should just be car chases. Let Nolan build his labyrinths. Let Bond drive straight through them with a rocket launcher in one hand, a girl's thigh in the other, while sporting a smirk that matches ours the whole time. Do yourself a favor, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more of my award-winning personality to fix your day. Not that I care about it or anything, but I got you. I'm out of here.
Don't say it.
The writing's on the wall, along with the rest of it.